Hello everyone, today is 27th of November. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Friends, let's have a look on today's GS Fodder. So today we will be taking a quote from the Kofi Annan, the former United Nations Secretary General. He says, sufferings anywhere concerns people everywhere. It means that the human sufferings, the human deprivations, they are not the concern of a singular nation or the society in which they are living. Rather, it is a global problem, and unitedly we should come together to resolve this particular crisis. And into the similar direction, the sustainable developmental goals have been framed, which are not talking about the isolated problems of one or two nations, but the global problems and how the global solutions for that particular thing can be meted out. Guys, we can utilize this particular idea in our essays as well as into the developmental related questions into the GS paper number 2. So guys, that's it, and now let's take the newspaper analysis. Now guys, first of all, let's have the overview of the articles that we will be discussing today. So this first article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper and it is about the one nation, one election. The similar article has also been carried into the LiveMint. We will be taking up it very comprehensively. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express and it is talking about the president's pardon in US. So here we will be comparing the Indian president and US president's pardoning power. Then guys, this particular article is talking about the period poverty. We will be discussing it. Then guys, this particular article is talking about the recent decision by the government where Ayurveda doctors were allowed to carry surgery. We will see this issue. Then guys, this particular article talks about that whether the tougher laws are needed to check the online abuse in India. Then guys, this article, it is talking about the China's dual circulation strategy and how it can compare with India's Atmanirbharta. We will be seeing this. So guys, these are all the important articles into the newspapers today, and now let's discuss the Mint. This particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper and the Mint newspaper, and it is talking about the idea of the one nation, one election. Now guys, this particular idea has been mooted very recently by the Prime Minister, and this particular thing has already been raised on multiple of the occasions when government earlier floated the simultaneous elections. Now guys, let's understand this particular concept and what does it means, what are its challenges and what are the benefits that it will be bringing. Now guys, we have seen this particular thing that every year India is witnessing some assembly elections, or some year there are the parliamentary elections. So when the elections are imposed every year, it brings a large number of problems. There are problems such as the model code of conduct is published, after that the developmental works, they stop. So to remove this particular problem, the idea of simultaneous election is coming, where it has been said that now the parliament election as well as assembly elections, they should be clubbed together into a singular exercise, and it will be saving a large number of resources. Now guys, when we are talking about clubbing the parliamentary election and the assembly election, this particular thing has also been favored into many of the expert committees as well as reports. For example, the Law Commission in its 170th report has very vocally talked about the simultaneous elections or the one nation, one election. Similarly, the 79th report of the Parliamentary Standing Committee and Niti Aayog in 2017 has also talked about holding the simultaneous elections in India. And the same particular thing has been said into these particular articles by the Prime Minister. Now guys, first of all, let's have a look onto the history of the simultaneous elections into India. Now guys, when the first elections were held in India in 1951 and 52, at that point of time we started with the simultaneous election only, and in 1951, 52, 57, 62 and 67 the simultaneous elections happened. However guys, after 67, 60 into the year 68, then there was the dissolutions in some of the assemblies. Then guys, in 1970 the entire Lok Sabha was dissolved, and guys, in the coming years sometimes the Lok Sabha's tenure was disturbed, sometimes the assembly's tenure was disturbed, and therefore the cycle which was created in 1951-52, it got disturbed. And today we are seeing that every year some 3 or 4 major states, they are going for the elections. So therefore guys, now again a kind of an overhaul is needed. So first of all, let's see that what are the positives and the negatives which are associated with these simultaneous elections. Now guys, first of all, let's take the positive developments. Number one guys is that if the simultaneous election will be coming, then every year in some or the other part of the country, the model code of conduct will not be imposed. Now you know that the model code of conduct has been a kind of an exercise which tries to bring a kind of a level playing field, and whenever the model code of conduct is in place, new schemes cannot be announced, new initiatives cannot be taken. And guys, because it has been seen that if the ruling government will announce new schemes, it will lure more of the voters. But guys, many a times the genuine developmental tasks are also not being able to take place when the MCC is in place. So guys, this particular problem will be resolved. Then guys, the next issue is that the cost will be reduced, because guys, when there are the elections at the separate level, the campaigning has to be carried both into the state as well as into the even into the national media. Now guys, if all this particular exercise will be happening only once, then guys, into the same expenditure, the one political party, it can float its national agenda as well as the state specific agenda, so therefore the cost will be reduced. Then guys, the next is that the human resource which is involved every year into the election duties, that human resource will be saved. After that guys, we had seen that the elections are also an event of the polarization, where the hate speeches, the caste based equations, all these things are raised. And now guys, if this particular practice will be having only once into the year, then the less polarizations will also be there. After that guys, there will also be the issues, there will also be the positive implications. For example guys, what happens now, every year the political party, they go and they devote the time for the campaigning, and therefore the less time is spared for some kind of legislative work. So that particular thing will also be solved, as much of the diversion into the campaigns will not be there. However guys, there are some negative or practical challenges also into this particular direction. The first challenge is that actually how to streamline the tenure. Now guys, if we have to conduct the election at one particular time, some of the assemblies tenure, either it has to be increased or some assemblies tenure has to be reduced to bring them at the one level playing field. But guys, that particular thing will be problematic, because article number 83 provides that the tenure of the Lok Sabha will be 5 years, and the same article number 172 talks about the state legislative assembly, and cutting that particular tenure or increasing that particular tenure will be involving large number of constitutional amendment acts, as well as the amendment into the representation of people act also has to be carried. However guys, there are some of the way outs which has been provided into this particular direction. For example, the law commission had said that we can make actually two groups. One group is that, like, when the Lok Sabha elections are to be held, the states going election 6 months before and 6 years later could be clubbed into that one block, and after the gap of 30 months there could be one more block also where the other states could be clubbed. But guys, anyhow the amendments have to be carried. Then guys, there will be the problem that if at the one point only all such elections will be happening, then how such large number of security forces will be mobilized for keeping a kind of a check onto the elections. Then guys, the next problem is that accountability, it will actually increase if there will be simultaneous elections. Now just take this particular example guys, if every year there are elections, a political party has to come down and has to justify their ruling in one or the other state, but that particular accountability will then be lost, and into the next only 5 years we will be seeing the legislators providing any kind of accountability. After that guys, it has been seen that if there will be the simultaneous elections, then the national issues, they will overpower the state specific issues, and basically the people will be voting only onto the national agendas. There will be a kind of a psychological overpowering which will happen. Now guys, when the elections at the different level are there, now into the state elections the people vote on some separate considerations, and into the national election on some separate considerations. So these identities or these kind of differentiations will be blurred. So guys, these are the issues into this particular direction. However, it is still a kind of a good idea that the India should explore into the one nation one election, because guys, anyhow the advantages are much more than these particular practical challenges. And guys, into this particular direction, if we talk about the two specific countries, as the South Africa and the Sweden, they are already conducting the kind of a one nation one election kind of thing. However, it is also the reality that into the big democracies such thing is not that much very much popularized. But guys, India should take a lead into this particular direction. So that's all about this particular article, and now we'll be taking the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express, and it is talking about the recent decision where Donald Trump had given the pardon to the Michael Flynn, who was the national security advisor. He was pleaded guilty because he had lied to the FBI. Now guys, with this particular thing, and as the Donald Trump's presidency is coming to an end, we will make a comparison between the pardoning power of the American president and the Indian president, and this particular topic will become important for our GS paper number 2 under the constitutional comparison. Now guys, Donald Trump into his tenure has given 29 pardons and 16 commutations. Now when we compare the pardoning by which has been given by the Donald Trump, it is very less compared to the other presidents. For example guys, the FDR, that is the Franklin D Roosevelt, he gave more than 3000 of the pardons during his tenure of 12 years presidency. Now guys, comparing both the presidents, that is the US president as well as India. First of all guys, when we talk about the US president, he can give the pardon or commute. Pardon is completely absolving from all kind of punishments, whereas the commutation, it includes the reducing a particular punishment to a lighter category of punishment. Now guys, when we compare the Indian president, he can give the pardon, that is absolving all the punishments, all the convictions, all the crimes. It He can give the commutation, that is reducing the category of a severe punishment to a lighter form of punishment. He can give the reprieve. Reprieve is giving a particular person the stay in his execution, so he can ask for the pardoning or commutation or any other kind of thing. Then guys, there is the respite. Respite is giving somebody a less punishment because of some special circumstance. And then there is the remission. Remission is just the reduction into the sentence. All these powers have been given to the president under the article number 72 of the Indian Constitution, and under article number 161 the powers have also been given to the governor. However, he cannot pardon the death sentences. Then guys, moving again into the next provision, the US president's power is the discretionary power independent of Congress. On his own he can give the pardon. However, when we talk about the Indian president guys, India's president cannot act on his own discretion, and he had to take the aid and advice. And moreover guys, when the particular pardon request is given to the president, the procedure is like this, that the request will go to the Ministry of Home Affairs, then it will go to the state, and then state will be reverting back, and then the president will finally be taking up his own decision. Moreover guys, this particular thing has been made again very clear by the Supreme Court into the Maruram versus Union of India case and the Dhananjay Chatterjee versus State of West Bengal, that president cannot act on his own onto the pardons, whereas guys, the US president can act. However guys, when we are talking about the US president's pardoning power, that particular pardon power is having one limitation, that even after the pardon has been given, the states into the US, they can again take up the trial, where such a kind of a thing doesn't happen into the India. So guys, this was the comparison between the US's president pardoning power and the India's pardoning power. So guys, that's it. If a kind of a question comes, please do utilize it. And now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express, and it is talking about the monumental legislation which has been passed by the Scotland. So what Scotland has done, Scotland has made a legislation where the sanitary pads has to be provided to the women at free of cost, and this particular thing has been done in order to reduce the period poverty. Now period poverty as a conception means that there are large number of women who are the destitutes, homeless, or they are extremely poor, and basically they cannot afford the hygiene products such as the sanitary pads, and this particular thing is raising the gendered barriers to the women. And noting this particular thing, the Scotland has become the first country who had passed this particular legislation where all the women will be receiving these products free of cost. Guys, earlier also the Scotland had started this particular project onto a limited scale, where the students of the college, university, and schools, they were provided the sanitary pads, and as a pilot project in one of the region of the Scotland, this particular project was started, but now it has been rolled for the entire country. And the Scottish ministers, they have been given a special duty that they need to make ensure that that the sanitary pads are being received by all the women. Now guys, this particular thing is a very important recognition of the women's special needs, and into this particular direction even the other countries should learn, and specifically into India these particular kind of things have to be taken. Guys, in India the problem is twin folded. Not only the affordability is the problem, but the taboo is also such a very big problem. And if government of India also takes such kind of things, it will be resolving both of the things simultaneously. So guys, with respect to the women related issues, it is a very good case study and you can utilize it into your answers. So guys, that's all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the recent decision which has been made by the government, where it was said that the Ayurveda, the doctors who had done their degrees into the Ayurveda medical science, they can perform the surgeries. Now this particular matter has been criticized a lot, and we will be seeing the issues related to this particular move. Now guys, first of all, on to the November 20th, government issued a notification into the Gazette of India, and where it was said that certain surgical procedures could be taken up by the PG Ayurveda doctors. Now guys, first of all, we cannot completely ridicule this particular kind of idea, because though myth mythologies are apart, but actually into the textual evidence there are the kind of examples where the Ayurveda had shown some kind of interventions into the surgical science also. For example, guys, there was the Shushrut, who was a world proclaimed surgeon into the ancient times. And guys, there is also the Shushrut Samhita, which has provided a kind of a detailed analysis onto the various surgical procedures. And basically, the way in which it has been mentioned into the Shushrut Samhita, they are being taken even till today into the modern sciences. So guys, to entirely discount the Ayurvedic doctors and their capabilities is also not a good kind of a thing. Guys, when we talk about the development of medical science in India, then guys, post 1947, the government were having two kind of challenges. Number one, there was the modern medicine, that is the allopathy, which was introduced in India by the Britishers, and then there was the traditional Indian medicines, particularly the Ayurveda. Now the government was having a challenge that which one is to be pursued, whether the modern medicine or the Ayurvedic medicines. However, guys, for a quite a period of time, government focused on integrating both these kind of things. However, guys, laterwards this particular thing was separated because there were some kind of principles in both of the disciplines which are opposite to each other. So laterwards it was detached. Now guys, it has been said that as we have moved forward, Ayurveda was detached, and the people who have done their medical degrees into the Ayurveda science, they have faced a kind of an identity crisis, and they, rather than independently pursuing the Ayurveda, they turned into the allopathy, and they became the resident doctors, they became the operation theater assistants, or the intensive care duty doctors. And guys, actually this particular thing has also been turned favorably into India, because they have worked exemplary. Guys, one particular thing which is an added advantage with these doctors is that they don't have such kind of attachment that they need to go for higher studies or they need to pass the entrance examinations. Very focusedly they have worked, and throughout the articles some of the examples have also been given where the doctors have worked exemplary who belonged to the Ayurvedic courses. Now, guys, first of all, when we talk about the Maharashtra state's example, then guys, 108 response ambulances, they are manned by the Ayurveda doctors, and basically they are the ones who gave the first response into the golden hours, into the matters of accident or all such kind of things. Then guys, into the COVID-19 also, very much of the complex procedures have been carried by the Ayurveda doctors and much of the duties they have given. And guys, throughout India, the Ayurveda doctors are hired either onto the contractual basis or onto the ad hoc basis by the hospitals, because hiring these doctors are relatively less expensive, and the devotion to their duty is also very much exemplary. Now guys, however, if we talk about the recent notification, it is clearly an overkill, because 58 surgical procedures have been mentioned into the notification which could be taken up by the Ayurveda doctors. Now such some of the procedures, they are very much complex, that is, for example, removal of the gallbladder. So guys, into these particular things, clearly the Ayurveda doctors cannot be given a kind of a clear mandate that they can single-handedly make these particular kind of interventions. However guys, it is also not entirely positive that this particular move needs to be given such kind of hate or such kind of ridiculation, because guys, when we talk about the Ayurveda doctors in India, they are a part of a very large workforce which is into the search of the identity. And if we leverage onto this particular search of identity, a thirst that they are having, and by giving them the right pay and the right training, we can help them that they can assist into the India's healthcare sector, which is into the shambles. Because guys, we know that per capita availability of doctors and the trained surgeons and the health professionals, it is very much less. So guys, they can basically fill up the gap until and unless India is having a full-fledged thriving health system. So guys, though the notification is faltering onto some of the grounds, but now it is high time that government should give them their due. They can be involved in some of the places. For example guys, into the ambulances, often the doctors have not been there. And taking the example of the Maharashtra, in every of the ambulance we can provide these Ayurveda doctors which can give them the first aid and can give them the urgent medical interventions. Moreover guys, into the primary healthcare centers, into the secondary healthcare sectors, wherever there is a shortage of the qualified assistants, there we can provide the Ayurveda doctors a kind of a job. Now this particular issue also becomes very much important, because in India, if you see, the credentials are not that much important at this point of stage. Rather, the availability of doctor is much more important. So into this thing guys, some of the positive things are there which could be carried forward. So that's all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, this article has been taken from the Hindu, and it is talking about the recent Kerala's decision where they declared an ordinance to tame the hate speeches or the defamation related charges. However, later they rolled back that ordinance. So it is talking that whether more tougher laws are needed in India to check the online abuse. Now, what was done? Kerala passed the ordinance and it gave the reason that the section number 66A of the IT Act, which was already there in India, to curb the online abuse, has been struck by the Supreme Court in 2015 into the Shreya Singhal case. So the void has been created, and into that particular void, they had to pass this ordinance. Now, this is also the truth that in India, the online hate has increased too much, and because of this particular thing, even in 2017, the Law Commission provided that two additional provisions are to be added to reduce the problem of the hate online hate. And guys, even if we see, there is no proper registration of the online hatredness, and in 2017 only 21,000 cases were registered, which is very much less. So therefore such a law was needed. That was the justification of the Kerala. However guys, it if actually we see, then there are relevant sections within the IPC as well as IT Act which are already covering any kind of speech which is offensive to any one of the community, or it is if it is explicit or obscene to the women or any of the community in India. So it has been said that actually the need was not there to bring such a kind of a law. Moreover guys, even if the law was to be brought, then the manner could have been good. For example, the ample number of considerations or the debates or the exchange of views with the stakeholders or the NGOs, civil right activists, they need to be taken up rather than directly pronouncing the ordinance. Now guys, it has actually been said that even now the ordinance has been reserved, but there is a need in India to have the social accountability accountability. Now, when we talk about the social accountability, guys, there are two of the initiatives which were tried to be floated up. For example, number one, there was the social accountability bill, which was a private member's bill, and this bill was raised in order to elicit the accountability of the platforms such as the Facebook, Twitter, that they take a pledge that they will be curbing the online hate. However, being the private member bill, this bill has not been taken up into the parliament. Then guys, into the second way the social accountability was being affirmed, because government framed the intermediaries rule under the IT Act. Under these intermediary rules, the platforms, they were being brought under the government regularizations. They have to put up the strong filters in which the hate speech, hate kind of content, it could be it could be weeded out. However, there was also a large number of criticism onto these intermediary rules. It was said that it will be an attack on to the fundamental right under the article number 19. So guys, even till today, these dues have basically these rules have not actually been announced, and therefore today there is actually a very big gap which is existing, and therefore the government such as the Kerala has taken such kind of a decision. Moreover, the Chhattisgarh government has also brought a similar kind of legislation, though it did not receive that much of publicity as the Kerala's laws has received. Now guys, it has actually been seen that there is both the arguments to have the law and to not to have the law, but the best possible way is that without actually bringing the new set of legislations, we can implement the existing set of legislations. Under the IPC there are the provisions, under the IT Act there are provisions, and guys, without bringing a new laws, we could utilize it. So guys, this is the entire crux of this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article is from Hindu, and it is talking about the great Chinese strategy, and this strategy is called as the dual circulation strategy. Now, what is this dual circulation? Guys, first of all, we need to see some of the trends which are going into the world. Number one trend is the trend of decoupling. Now, what is decoupling? In decoupling, the countries have decided that they will be disengaging from the China. They will not be dependent on to China for their technologies, for their products, or any kind of thing, because China has become has become little bit erratic into their behavior. After that, guys, the second thing is that there is the wave of the deglobalization which is going on in the world, and into this deglobalization, the Chinese economy will be impacted, because China has been largely dependent onto the export of their cheap products to the world economies. Then guys, there is one more thing that is going on, that is the relocation. Fine, relocation means that even the industries which has been established into the China, they want to go into the other countries. So basically all these particular things, and coupled with the threat of the COVID-19, it has endangered the Chinese economy. So China is now bringing the dual circulation. In dual circulation, China had actually brought two of the major issues. Number one, China says that we will now be boosting our domestic economy, because China has the world's largest population, and if that population is leveraged properly, they themselves can become the consumers of the Chinese products and the Chinese goods. Now guys, China is still, if I tell you, is into the middle income group trap, and basically China aims that their incomes disposable income, their people's disposable income should be increased, so that they can afford the high value products. So this is one thing. Secondly, guys, China wants that actually they want to recalibrate China's external relation. Now the world wants to detach, but China wants that they should not be detached, rather they should be overly dependent onto the China. And into this particular line, China is focusing on to the trump card technologies. Now trump card technologies are those technologies which are having a specification, which are having a specific expertise of China. For example, just take the 5G. So 5G and the Huawei, they are having much of the monopoly. Into the similar way, there is the artificial learning, renewable energy, and various high-end technologies where China is indispensable. principle. So China says that we need to focus on to these trump card technologies so that China cannot be replaceable into the times to come. So this is the China's strategy of the dual circulation. Moreover, guys, when we compare the China's dual circulation or China nirbharta, we a kind of a question comes that how can it be compared to the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan of India? Now, guys, it can be compared on one of the front that both are looking for the self-reliance, but on one hand, there is a difference also. Guys, India's Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is little bit more inward looking because we have not participated into the RCEP, and our reliance onto the FTA is also going down, whereas China is more aggressively embracing all kind of free trade agreements, and even when it is China centric, it is having a kind of a thrust onto the foreign international relations and the platforms also. For example, the RCEP has kicked off with the China. Then, guys, there is the comprehensive and progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, which also China is heading. It is a reformed version of the TPP, which is there after the USA has left. Basically, we can see that the China's Atmanirbharta and India's Atmanirbharta are different because China is more embracing of the FTAs, and India can also learn into this particular direction. And even yesterday, there was one editorial which was talking that India should not shy away from the FTAs. So, guys, this is all about this particular article, and guys, these are all the relevant articles for today. I hope you have understood them. Thank you so much.